Now, murder at Roseman's gate took you about 10 years, right? Something like that. From the charred remains, though, a lot quicker,
Much
right?
faster, yeah.
So what was the difference?
I think I just kind of started to understand a little bit how the process worked, and one of the big things about a murder at Roseman's Gate is I didn't know who had done it, which is sort of an issue when you're writing a mystery. So the first thing I figured out in the second book was, you know, who the murderer was.
That always fascinates me. So is that pretty much the case when somebody writes a mystery that you really don't know who has done this until?
Yeah, for me, the first book, I was just so much more interested in the person who had been murdered and why, and sort of how this murder played out on the community and the impact of that after a while I thought, I need to figure out who did it. And I did change characters, I thought maybe. But the second book, I thought that made it more difficult not knowing, so I did make sure I kind of knew who it was the first time around.
So 10 years here, how long did this one take?
That was about a year.
About a year.
But the next one was about 6 months, so
Well,
I'm getting faster. Yeah.
Going to be like James Patterson, pumping one out every month.
Yeah, except for the kids and job, I think I could do it.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe.
All right, so we've already talked about these two books. You have a third one coming out, right?
In April.
That's called The Mask of a Murderer. Tell us a little bit about that. Same setting?
Yeah, and same main characters. So Lucy Campion is the main. But in this case, a person has been, a Quaker actually, has been pushed in front of a cart. And as he lays dying, Lucy, who is a printer's apprentice, is called to write down his last words, because that was actually really common that people used to do that back then. And when no one is kind of right by him, he says to her, I was actually pushed in front of this. It wasn't an accident, and it's someone here, you know, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And so Lucy is kind of drawn into.
Did we get the license plate number of the cart?
Who was that? Yes, exactly.
No screeching tires back then.
That's right. But it kind of, it was a lingering death that he was able to kind of tell people what happened, sort of.
Now, you have a couple of sons, and you were telling me that one of them likes to go with you to the book signings?
Well, I think they both do, and they both like to act out a scene from my book, which is the second book from the Charred Remains.
Okay.
Two boys, I guess a lot like my sons, are playing with swords that have come up after the Great Fire. There's rubble everywhere, and they're just kind of playing as boys will, and they topple over a big barrel, and a body falls out. And so my
son's body just happens to roll out of the barrel.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so my sons enjoy acting that part.
Who plays the part of the body when they?
Right. Exactly.
That
should be Dad.
Neighborhood kid comes over and plays the part of the
Dad.
body. But you were telling me one of your sons likes to autograph the book along with you.
Yes, my younger son Quentin does enjoy writing his name next to where I had acknowledged him in the book. So people are often very nice about having a Quentin in there as well. So he signs with me.
If he becomes famous someday, that's going to be a valuable book.
Yes, it's already valuable to me.
Yeah, of course it is. All right. I just find this fascinating. You know, history to me is fascinating to begin with, but you really take it up a notch, taking us back to the 1600s in London, murder, mystery. Was that really the case back then? I mean, did we have murder and mayhem happening back then? You think about that time as being idyllic and serene, but
so actually I think it was a very disorderly time. I mean, I think a lot of bad things did happen, but people often put them as accidents. You know, it was very easy to kill someone during the plague. I mean, who's going to know, you know, that they were not actually stricken down by. So it was actually, I think, quite easy to get away with murder. But, you know, back then, communities did police each other, and they looked through the windows and they'd notice what was going on. So it was very, it was a time when you couldn't get away with it as easily in some ways.